Hello and welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for Buddy the Gob, released in 1934. It's the 71st in the series and it's directed by Friz Freleng. Now, I have no idea how I got this copy, but the copy that usually lurks around in the dark corners of the internet, aka Dailymotion, is usually a pretty atrocious print with a timestamp and everything, and somehow this copy was found. I don't know where, but it was good enough that I even upscaled it to kind of approximate a HD version. It definitely needs some work, but this is probably the best we're going to get this short, given the subject matter within. In case you haven't seen this one, it's pretty straightforward. Buddy is a sailor, and he ends up in China, and after some, well, unfortunate sight gags, if you get my meaning, he sees that a girl is going to be sacrificed to a dragon, and, she's screaming out for someone to save her, and of course, Buddy gets out to save her. And hopefully back home, Cookie doesn't find out about this girl that he saved. First, you're going to see a re-edit of the original commentary I did before I had to take that down, and you'll hear some new thoughts from me and some further observations. So, grab some popcorn and try to enjoy, despite some of the imagery in this one. So in this one, they see land, he's in China, and yeah, you can imagine what it's going to be like with this particular cartoon, because they weren't exactly, Asian friendly in some of the previous cartoons. Beautiful girl to be sacrificed to the dragon, because, yeah, we all know that the Chinese had real dragons. Did they really think that the Chinese actually use people's heads as drums? I do like the animation on this guy's belly, just... And we have here, see, I'm actually pleased with the fact that it's not Cookie. It actually makes sense. It's going to be a Chinese girl, but I don't know, for some reason I thought it was going to be her, because usually in the Bosco cartoons, you'd have, of course, Honey in these sort of situations. She was a French girl at one stage, and so on. Now, I mentioned directed by Friz Freleng because, this is his first credited directing work and solo directing work, and as we all know, aside from a very brief period in the late 30s, he was at the studio the entire time. Now, I tried looking for logic in the Bosco cartoons. I'm not sure if I should look at them in the Buddy cartoons, but let's look at some positives. I mean, aside from obviously the racial stereotypes here, the animation's really solid and it's well timed, which Friz was known for his really good timing, and compare this Buddy with the very first Buddy short, which I maintain was just not good at all. There's a big difference here. I mean, I'm still not too keen on Buddy as a character, but at least here it's a lot better. With this Navy part, why on earth would they just randomly shoot at everything? I'm pretty sure they don't just randomly shoot at stuff at the Navy. I'm pretty sure someone's going to get in trouble for that. Now, why on earth would he swallow the key? That makes absolutely no sense. It's his dungeon. He's locked her up. Why would you do that? And I've seen that similar gag before in a Bosco cartoon. So I would imagine that some of the gags used here, Friz would have just drawn from his experiences as an animator for harmonizing, and even, for Walt before that. So those are my original thoughts, and there are a few other things I've noticed since watching this, because, as I said before, this had such an atrocious print, it was very hard to watch. I mean, it's still hard to watch, of course, but I'm sure you know what I mean here. So, I mean, first of all, why the title? Why is it called Buddy the Gob? I had a look, and basically a gob is just an old-time slang for sailor, and I was looking at why that word in the first place, and no one really knows. It first turned up in around 1909, and some have said it comes from the word gobble, because, they would gobble down their food, whatever, but it also comes from perhaps the word gob, which means to spit, and sailors tended to spit, so, take your pick. I'm not going to lose sleep over not knowing the exact origins there, but essentially, yeah, that's why the short is called Buddy the Gob, because, well, sailors are gobs. I mentioned before that this was the first Friz Freleng short that he would get credit for. He co-directed some harmonizing shorts. Before that, he was an animator and so on. And he even fixed up the very first Buddy short. And doesn't matter how good of a director you might be, you couldn't save that piece of garbage, that's for sure. What's interesting is that he would do 2 Buddy shorts, and then he would focus just on the Merry Melodies, and right up until he would leave for MGM in 1938. And it makes sense. There is plenty of examples in this short of his wonderful timing, and the 2 best examples I can give here is in the very beginning, where you got the ship's guns, again, why they're just randomly shooting. There's no war, they're just, I'm assuming, just turning up to port and that's it. But anyway, whatever, we'll just go with it. But have a look at the beginning. The ship's guns are kind of like trumpets. They're sort of sounding off to the timing of the music. And if you look at the whistles as well, that's definitely a hint of what's to come, in terms of the musical timing that Friz will exhibit. But another example is that whole musically timed staircase climb, and this is the first time Friz has done it, and he would always do it, especially later on in the Sylvester shorts. He had the whole da-da-da-da-da-da, and then, all going down and up. I mean, in this case, it just goes up, but still, it's something that he would end up doing. From what I can see, there's only one bit of reused animation. I mean, some of the designs in this shorts appear to be just your stock standard, I guess, Chinese design or just generic Asian designs that were just lurking around for people who didn't really understand Asian culture, particularly of that dragon. But from It's Got Me Again, those mice bouncing on the drum, that appears to be lifted from that, and Friz used to always draw his mice like that, so it's not really that surprising. We got 2 celebrity cameos here, and I mean, you got Jimmy Durante doing the whole ha-cha-cha-cha, I mean, by this point, if you've been watching the channel long enough, you should know who Jimmy Durante is, but if you don't, he was a comedian, entertainer, all that stuff. Definitely look him up. He's made some great work. Who's the person on the left, though? Because I'm looking at this going, I don't know who this person is. And I was asking my good friends, Devin Baxter and Keith Scott, and they both gave me the same answer, and that is, and her name is Marie Dressler. And, she's definitely long forgotten. In fact, she would actually succumb to cancer this very release year, 1934. And she was the 4th person to win a Best Actress Oscar for the film Min and Bill. And, she had that face that was ripe for caricature, hence why I used it here. But why these 2 actors in this one caricature bit? I don't know. Don't know why these 2 would particularly be together here, but if you know the answer, let me know. But at least we know who she is, and we certainly know who he is. So if you know why they might put these 2 actors together, definitely let me know in the comments, because I definitely would love to know. And yeah, look, in terms of the stereotypes, I know you've all heard it before. Yes, film bad stereotypes, and yeah, that still remains true. In fact, it's probably even worse because it's kind of like a white savior kind of thing, where other cultures are just, I guess, savage. They're going to sacrifice this girl to a dragon just because, the primitive culture and all that stuff, and of course, he's got to save her. But unfortunately, that's what a lot of the shorts were at the time. But at the end of the day, look, this short, yeah, it's frustrating because you got some wonderful examples of timing, and you do have some decent gags in here. They're very few, but they are definitely in here. And of course, the best one is Buddy being burned on his rear end, and I'm going to assume that the animators found that satisfying. Also, you can see Friz developing as a director as well. Okay, you got this unfortunate joke of this really poor, Asian gibberish where the guy's reading the sign, and then of course we see the translation because Buddy can't read Chinese. Fair enough, I can't either, but there was a weird zoom. I think this might have been the case of when they watch the finished film, they're like, oh, our audience is going to really see what this is about, so then they just added a zoom after the fact. It doesn't look like it was planned, and it definitely goes out of focus in a few parts, and this was something that wasn't noticed in the original, the crappy print I used, so it's just something I noticed now. I'm like, oh, okay, this maybe was something that was done after the fact, but who knows? It's probably information that's lost to time. In terms of rating, look, I'm going to give this one about a 4.5 out of 10. It's very hard to watch in terms of the type of gags in here, but at least we can see where the timing that Friz is known for comes from. Like, you can see that he's still a solid director, regardless of the subject matter in this case, and he's definitely directed some doozies. 1934 would also have, like Going to Heaven on a Mule and that sort of thing. So, that's going to be fun, right? I'm sure my editor's going to enjoy re-editing that. So yeah, that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.